The day after the Supreme Court ruled against some of President Donald Trump's tariffs, he says he's going to increase tariffs to 15%. This is one of the latest stories you'll see at thecentersquare.com. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for joining us here for Illinois in Focus Daily. Don't forget about the Center Square Daily, new national program we've launched here to keep you updated on what's going on in state houses across the country. That is daily here with the Center Square, so be sure to check back here for that a little bit later on today. But here with Illinois in Focus, let's talk about the tariffs and the impact on you in Illinois. So President Donald Trump, as you'll see in the report here from the Center Square, Saturday, he said he would raise global tariffs to 15%. That comes on social media day after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down his use of a 1977 law to impose tariffs on imports around the world. So the president's posting on social media based on a thorough, detailed, and complete review of the ridiculous, poorly written, and extraordinarily anti-American decision on tariffs issued Friday. After many months of contemplation, the U.S. Supreme Court, please let this statement serve as to represent that I, as President of the United States of America, will be, effective immediately, raising the 10% worldwide tariff on countries, many of which have been ripping the U.S. off for decades without retribution until I came along, to the fully allowed and legally tested 15% level, Trump wrote Saturday on social media. So the ruling Friday, the president held a news briefing and talked about it, and one of the big questions was, what exactly is going to happen with the dollars that he brought in? It was like $170 billion or so that he brought into the U.S. through these tariffs. But leaders like Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois say that that money was paid for by taxpayers. Here's the governor on Friday.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump owes the families of the United States and the families of the state of Illinois what seems to be about $2,000 per household for the illegal tariffs that he put on them. And so I want to know how he's going to, provide that money for the taxpayers, for the people of all of our states, but in particular for the state of Illinois.
Now, what that ultimately is going to spell out for the tariffs, it's a big question, some uncertainty there, as the court really didn't spell out what happens to that money, and even the president himself critical of the court for not spelling that out.
They take months and months to write an opinion, and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
So the president saying it's crazy, quote, that they didn't discuss that. I'm not sure if you did hear the governor. I heard it in my left channel, but I want to make sure you can hear it. Here's the governor again.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump owes the families of the United States and the families of the state of Illinois what seems to be about $2,000 per household for the illegal tariffs that he put on them. And so I want to know how he's going to, provide that money for the taxpayers, for the people of all of our states, but in particular for the state of Illinois.
Now, what that means is the governor saying, hey, you got to pay Illinoisans and U.S. citizens the money that they paid in tariffs. The president saying the courts didn't really spell that out, so not sure what that's going to look like, and it's probably going to take a couple of years just to litigate that aspect of it. So this is far from over. But again, the president, he said that he's going to impose tariffs. He says that the ruling and the dissenting opinions, they spelled out that he still has authority to do some tariffs, and he says he's going to do those tariffs.
It's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Now, all of this coming as the president has a meeting coming up with China, and what that means. But, he also talked about the farmers and how they got a bridge payment from the tariff funding and all of the other funds that were being brought in for those tariffs, ultimately saying that he believes it's best for the United States to have those tariffs in place. But he also says he still has some options that he's going to use to tariff. But you've got the governor here in Illinois joining other prominent Democrats urging the president to pay back the taxpayers the amounts that was paid for those tariffs. Pritzker says he's worried about what is next on the president's plate for tariffs.
Look, what my real concern is that this morning, in answer to questions about the fact that he lost at the Supreme Court, he is now saying he's got some secret plan to reimpose tariffs or something like tariffs that he hasn't told anybody about, but that he just wants to keep them going. Somehow it seems like that's illegal because the Supreme Court has now ruled that he acted unconstitutionally in carrying out his tariffs.
And again, this is just for the 1977 law where he was trying to impose tariffs. But Republicans, of course, in an election year, as you'll see at thecentersquare.com from Therese Boudreau, our reporter over in Washington, D.C., she says Republicans split over the tariff ruling, trying to seek a way forward. Republicans in Congress sharply divided over whether to continue President Donald Trump's tariff policies after the U.S. Supreme Court struck them down Friday. And most Republican lawmakers who supported the ruling, they echoed House Financial Services Committee chair.
Coming from the other
and
side.
The committee chair said that they shared President Trump's goal of securing fair and reciprocal trade agreements and holding bad actors accountable for their unfair trade policies. While tariffs can be a useful tool when applied in a targeted way, today's Supreme Court decision underscores the need for Congress to play a role in trade policy. You've got Rand Paul also sounding off on this, saying that the court had defended the Constitution, recognizing that tariffs are taxes and the power to declare them belongs to Congress, while John Curtis, a Republican from Utah, and others expressed relief that Americans' system of checks and balances remains strong after nearly 250 years. And it's interesting because Democrats, they were quick to talk about other rulings the U.S. Supreme Court had that were favorable of Trump, saying that the court's in Trump's pocket, but this is a pretty large and sizable ruling against the Trump administration. He was able to essentially spin that and say that this brings more certainty to his tariff policies. So obviously this is going to be an election year issue, but in an election year, you also have the ongoing rhetoric that people are concerned by, especially after you have a suspect that was killed in Mar-a-Lago. Go to thecentersquare.com. You can read about this. Sarah Roderick Fitch talks about U.S. Secret Service shooting and killing a man, suspect following an unauthorized entry into the Palm Beach Mar-a-Lago estate Sunday morning. So it was Sunday morning when that happened. Trump, who remained in Washington, D.C. over the weekend and attended a dinner for the governors in the White House Saturday evening, was unharmed. U.S. Secret Service says the suspect, a male in his 20s, appeared to be carrying a shotgun and a fuel can when he was confronted by agents. Palm Beach County, they briefed reporters and letting them know that it was 1:30 in the morning. Security detail detected an individual made their way into the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. Deputy and two Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate, and they confronted a white male that was carrying a gun and a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to shooting position. At the point in time, deputy and two Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. So obviously, we may hear a lot more about this throughout the morning. But you had yesterday Scott Bessent on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo talking about the rhetoric and how he says it's being promulgated even further by a political advertisement from Juliana Stratton, lieutenant governor in Illinois, who's also running for the U.S. Senate.
This venom.
And here is Scott Bessent.
This venom coming from the other side. Look at this terrible, profane Senate commercial in Illinois. I would call for them to take that down. Take that down, because it is that kind of venom that we don't know whether this person was a mastermind, unhinged, or what. But they are normalizing this violence. It's got to stop.
Now, what is that ad? Have you seen it? I had to edit some of the audio in this, but here's the ad, a political advertisement for Juliana Stratton, lieutenant governor running for U.S. Senate in the Democrat primary.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
They said it, not me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I'm proud to have lived my whole life on the south side of Chicago. I'm not scared of a wannabe dictator. I'm running for Senate to stand up to Donald Trump. I'll abolish ICE and hold Trump accountable for the crimes he's committed, just like they said.
Trump.
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 Vote Juliana.
That's why I approve this message.
Now, you saw some other names in there. Governor J.B. Pritzker, obviously, he didn't say the expletive. He said vote Juliana. But you did have Senator Duckworth in that ad using the expletive, and several other people saying expletive Trump. And again, Bessent says that type of rhetoric's only fueling threats against the president.
This venom coming from the other side. Look at this terrible, profane Senate commercial in Illinois. I would call for them to take that down. Take that down, because it is that kind of venom that, you know, we don't know whether this person was a mastermind, unhinged, or what, but they are normalizing this violence. It's got to stop.
Will there be an effort to reduce the rhetoric, or will that just ramp up heading into the November general midterm election? A lot to watch, and that's why we do Illinois in Focus each and every weekday morning for you. So I appreciate you being here and even working through the technical issue of plugging monitors back in and getting them audio feeds where they need to go so that you could hear what's going on here in Illinois. Greatly appreciated. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us here for Illinois in Focus. But also don't forget, we've got the Center Square Daily each and every weekday. National news for you and how you're being impacted by state houses across the country. So be sure to check that out here with Illinois in Focus Daily and then the Center Square Daily.